Welcome back to the Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a fun video from the Fung brothers. Like I mentioned the other day, the Latino and the Asian community are probably going to be the future interracial couples of America. So let's get to that chow. It's chow time.
Asians and Latinos are the two fastest growing ethnic groups in America. So that begs the question, are Lasians the future?
Why are the Asians always at the end? This is just a funny comment for me because it's always Balasians, so it's black and Asians. Now it's Latasians, which is Latino and Asians. And then there's like, why can't Asians be the first acronym? Huh?
Yeah, the LA Times just dropped a viral article basically saying that the Asian-Latino, Latino-Asian pairing and their interracially mixed children, Andrew, are the future of California's demographics.
Yeah, California is 15% Asian and 40%.
Well, at least in California. 15% Asians in California? Well, that's a high-ass rate of Asians because we're only about 6% nationwide.
50% Latino. So this is going to be happening more and more. In the past 10 years, the Asian-Latino mixture doubled in California.
And I'll tell you this.
What? That's interesting. I didn't realize the interracial couple actually doubled in the last 10 years. In 10 years, that's actually pretty huge.
It's not surprising that it doubled, Andrew. When you look at the couple that they featured, Andrew, this was a Chinese-Mexican mix, Andrew. They have 6 children.
It makes sense. Hispanics have a lot of kids. Chinese like having a lot of kids, and Asians like having a lot of kids. So, okay, it makes sense that these populations are going to explode when one couple gets together. They produce 6 of them.
Goodness, please, guys, Asia, if you have declining birth rates, I think you need to let Latinos immigrate over there. But no, in all seriousness, guys, we're going to talk about this, and then we're also going to bring in our Korean-Mexican friend at the end to go give his perspective. But please hit that like button and check out other episodes of the Hot Pot Boys, because from frivolous to serious, we're talking about it all.
My best friend is Mexican and Guatemalan. Like, I do all of my family events at his house. I do all their family events. Like, when I say the two races are very close to each other, they are. Like, the way that my friend operates with his family is very similar to how I operate with my family. We take care of everything. We do everything. Mother takes care of all the food, handles everything. Of course, the mom can be a little bit, hard to deal with. My mom was a little bit hard to deal with. So I see it on my daily life that Hispanic families and Asian families are so alike.
I mean, there was a lot of speculation in the comment section about what should you call somebody who is half Asian and half Latino. Oh. Should you call them a Hispasian? Should you call them...
Let's go out like this. Hispasians.
Malaysian. Obviously.
Wait, we can't be Malaysian? That's its own race already.
Mexarian is somebody who's half
Mexarian.
Half Mexican and half Korean. Hapitos, Hapitas, Hapanese, Hapanex, if you want to be politically correct. Somebody said, just call them Filipinos.
I heard that in more Spanish-speaking countries, sometimes they get called El Chinito.
Right.
I get called that. I get called El Chinito, or the Chinito, the little Chinese boy. That's how a lot of Hispanic families refer to me when they first meet me.
Because actually in the Spanish world, they actually already have a word for somebody that is Asian or half Asian being raised over there. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, I think the Latin world is a lot more.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of Koreans that live in Latin America. In my high school, I met a Korean girl that came to our high school from South America that spoke fluent Spanish, fluent Korean also, but she lived in Latin America most of her life.
More diverse than people give it credit for. The first comment, Andrew, was, I'm Korean on my dad's side, Mexican on my mom's side, double the rice. And other people said, I got so many different types of rice. We got yellow rice, sofrito rice, brown rice, purple rice, white rice.
Hey, lots of rice between the Asians and the Latinos.
Somebody also said, growing up in Latin countries, it's different because we do have immigrants from Asia for the last 100 years growing up in Mexico or growing up in Peru, a bunch of Japanese in Brazil. So the way we've mixed over time, we could be part European, indigenous, Latin, we could be Asian, we could be black, all in one race, and we're not going to think too much about it because everybody's been so mixed over time.
Exactly. I mean, people forget that Peru had a Japanese president, although controversial. He got elected.
Yeah. Somebody said, I feel torn between both of my sides. I don't know whether I'm more Hispanic or I'm more Asian. And other people just said, dude, I don't even care. I'm just me. Regardless if people try to issue me ultimatums to pick a side that I identify with more, I'm just me. Somebody said, you know, it's interesting because I'm mixed, but I visually look like one side or the other. So I'm half Asian, but everybody sees me as Latino.
See, this is very similar to how the black community is with the black men that are half white that look more white, like Steph Curry and things. You know, it makes it harder for those types of men to identify which side they kind of fall on. And I think they have a little bit of a tough life in a sense. I'm not saying Steph Curry had a tough life. I'm not saying that, but you know, I'm sure like race wise, it wasn't the easiest.
Or I'm half Latino, but everybody sees me as Asian depending on how I just present visually.
And the funny thing is about this, it even depends on who's scanning your face.
This is true. Again, when I was in high school, I wore a beanie a lot when it was cold out in the mornings, and most people thought I was just Hispanic. I literally looked Hispanic to a lot of people. One of my teachers, he's not my teacher, but the English teacher that I was pick-up role for where my classes were, they called me Pedro because they thought I was Hispanic. I don't know if that was racist or not. It was in the past, so I'm not going to think about it.
Because certain Asians will think you're more Asian or you're less Asian, and then Hispanic people might see it a different way, and then everybody else sees it a different way. You know what I think is interesting about this mix, though, of Asian Latino? So you're Asian Latino and you're mixed. You have a mixed identity in America, but you're not one of the dominant groups. You're not white or black.
Right.
Because
Correct. So this is actually a little bit different dynamic than the white and black men and women out there.
oftentimes the most mixed is white and black, right?
Right,
And
you're
then-
saying technically, even though you're mixed between Asian and Latin, you're both outside of the Anglosphere or what is considered the white-black binary of America.
yeah, you're just still the two like the super minority groups in America. But
And of course, the last comment was just like, I'm half Asian, I'm half Latin. I'm pretty much a DIY Filipino.
Yeah.
the comments are funny. But yeah, let us know in the comments down below if there's any mixed people out there, if you feel more one of these comments more than the other. But I really want to talk about, David, why do we think it's happening more? Because, of course, the article is going to keep it real PC. They didn't want to talk about how, these other reasons. But why do we think that this Latin and Asian couple is happening more?
Well, I think that there's a lot of similarity, number one, in culture,
That's
and
why I said
similarity
it.
in story. Like both groups actually in huge amounts. By the way, I'm not saying there wasn't Asians here 100 years ago. There wasn't Latin people here 200 years ago on what is now American territory, or maybe hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I'm just saying in terms of like huge numbers, probably came post 1960.
Yeah. Yeah. And all right, this is just a joke, everybody. But we
Sad
both
that the
have
man has to
fobs,
say that.
fresh off the boat and fresh over the border.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
It's
one
funny.
is just over water and one is over a border.
We all eat rice. We all have our chicken and rice dishes too.
I think they're both like really just trying to make it in America. I think a lot of Asian people and a lot of Latino people, whether it's your
I think that Asian people and Asian Hispanic people keep their heads down. They keep their heads down and work. They don't really try to move things too much in a sense. They're just trying to make it and work. So when they meet each other, like, oh, okay, like this makes sense. You're not trying to be, some big person. You're not trying to do all these extra things. You just want to have a nice life and you want to work hard. And I think they see that in each other.
parents' experience or actually them going through it in the moment, you kind of know what it's like to arrive to a new place. You don't really speak the language. You don't fully fit in, and you're just trying to survive. And I guess like living this cool TV lifestyle of the rich and famous like Hollywood access life is not your top priority.
Right,
You're just trying to set up something stable for your family to take the levels up and up.
Oh, possibly you both grew up watching content from the motherland. You know how like a lot of Latinos
not.
in America, they still watch like Univision or something like
that's
that.
true.
You're watching like Spanish shows, while a lot of Asians grew up watching Asian shows as well.
Yeah, I don't think you feel
actually never
entitled
thought
to
about
anything
that.
in the media because obviously American media, and it's not bad or anything like that, is mostly just white or black. So probably if you're Latino, if you wanted to see Latino representation, you had to turn on Univision or a number of Spanish-speaking channels, right?
Correct.
And obviously if you're Asian, you had to look back to whether that was you lean into the anime or the K-dramas or the K-pop or whatever in-language content that you had access to.
I mean, even food.
When I was growing up, I watched a lot of Chinese movies, like, the sword fighting romance movies. I loved them. I watched them, but they were translated, or not translated, but dubbed in Cambodian. So I fully understood everything. So even though they were Chinese movies. So it was huge for me to watch these things. It's how I kept my language, how I understood a lot of history in China, and just a lot of how Asians worked too. It was through those movies and shows.
Can be kind of similar. Like, I personally think that Mexican and Korean food is very similar, right? Lots of grilled meats, a lot of pickled vegetables, kind of meats and veggies.
Damn, you know what? He's right. We do barbecue a lot of asada at my friend's house on Sundays, and it's pretty much very similar to Korean barbecue, just flavored differently, how we eat it, because we're eating it with a lot of sides, putting it together with the tortilla and stuff. You know what? That was a good point. I'll give him a +1 on that one.
So obviously that's why you get like great kalbi tacos, right? From the Kogi taco truck.
Birria ramen.
Yeah, birria ramen. It works out. Also, I really think that
Birria ramen. Damn. Now I'm gonna have to go try and look for some birria ramen now. God damn it.
both immigrant groups really focus on hard work. And I think maybe that's just immigrant groups in general.
I
But
agree.
obviously we all know the stereotype. Latinos or Mexicans, they're like very hardworking. Asians work very hard. Asians, I think typically they more value like formal education, like study in the
Yes.
books. And then Latinos are like, hey, like, even if you don't like get A's, like you could still live a good life and work hard.
Yeah. I mean,
That is a huge difference between the two. I do agree about that. Hispanics do live a happier life. From what I've noticed, they're a little bit more fulfilled because, yes, how he said it is their main goal wasn't to be higher caliber, higher money earning. It's just, hey, as long as you're happy and you're living a good life, you're doing good. Where Asians, even in my family now, no, you need to have kids. No, you need to be making this much. No, why don't you have a business? Like, hey, you don't have a donut shop like everybody else. It's very pushed on you to always excel. They're not very happy when you settle. And Hispanic families, not saying that they're settling, but they are happier in those positions than Asian families are, just because of the thought process of what you should be doing about happiness.
I mean, I saw this in a comment, and I don't have the official statistic, but they said that they believed the mixture between like the man being Asian and the woman being Latina, or the man being Latino and the woman being Asian, was much more even. It was like kind of close to a 50-50.
Yeah, and this brings us to the next point.
That's interesting that a lot of Asian, like 50-50 Asian men and women are going for Hispanic families, which is awesome. That there's not much of a difference between the men and the women, where like, Asians and white, it's mostly Asian women that are going for the whites, not very much of the Asian men. So
Right, let's be real, being Asian guys, and having dated in the world, Latin women are open to Asian guys.
that they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, they really are.
Talk about
To be
it.
honest.
Do you think that's because possibly, obviously, the indigenous people who were in Latin America originally had come from Asia?
I mean, personally, some of the Latina women that I've gone out with, they've even told me that at times they've been mistaken for part Asian, or
This is, you know what? I see a lot of Hispanic women with just slightly smaller eyes, and they look pretty pretty Asian to me too. He's right, but I did not know that the Hispanic culture came from Asian culture that emigrated. If this is true, that makes sense to me. It's just they slightly started changing differently because of the climate and the demographic of where they were, but they still had the similar roots and thought processes from when they were, Asians in a sense. Yes.
or even a girl that I went out with, she even got mistaken for Indian.
Oh, right.
Because she was more of like the indigenous Mexican
Right,
side.
she was
you
from
know?
Oaxaca, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like they can kind of look like different races, and I feel like that often when you get mistaken for different races, or you get mistaken for that racial group, you are more likely to date that racial group.
Right. No, that is logical, because if your whole life you got told that you look like this thing, you're going to be open to it
Yeah.
more than likely.
I mean, to be honest, and I also think Latin people, they come from countries where we said they have all different looks. Like in Brazil, people are black, they look white, they also can maybe look Asian, and they look indigenous, right? So these people, like, maybe they don't harbor as many kind of like racial biases and kind of like the superiority complex as much. So when they meet like another Asian, another minority, they're like more open to it. So to be honest, yes, I do know a lot of more like Latin women who date Asian guys. Like that's very common.
Well,
I do too. I do know a lot of Latin women that like to date Asian guys. I don't know many Asian guys, to tell you the truth. My two best friends are Black and Hispanic, so I don't really hang out with that many Asians in general. Like, just because how I grew up, I didn't grow up with that many Asians overall, and my family is business oriented, so I don't really hang out with my family other than family events.
you know, I think there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, there's differences as well.
Bring in Fred.
Of course, joining us today, Freddie Lee. Fred, how do you feel about representing the future demographics of the state of California?
I don't know. It's like a lot of power. I don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
Well, yeah, now you're going to have to run the state, Fred. You are now responsible because you are Korean and Mexican.
Bulgogi tacos or birria ramen?
Bulgogi tacos.
Yeah,
for
that was
sure.
I've never tried the birria ramens, I can't say.
I think the birria ramen looks better on Instagram, but the bulgogi tacos was more of it works better.
Do you have an inkling to go to California? Because after you learn this...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to see that they're like the population's rising and stuff, and I might just even go there just to start my acting career so I can represent my people, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Hey, what are some of the weird things about being Mexican and Korean in particular? And you grew up around a lot of Koreans, so you kind of grew up in more towards the Korean part of Jersey, but you're half Mexican. So I guess like what is that like? Like what are some funny things?
Well, honestly, I did live in a Korean populated area, but there was also Hispanic, so I think I got both of my cultures in, especially in school. There's like the Korean side, and there was also like the Hispanic side.
Dude, I just can't stop looking at his goddamn earring. It just bugs the shit out of me, man. Like, come on, man.
You're saying that those were the two predominant groups in your high school.
Yeah.
Were Asian and Latino. Were you able to sort of like go between the worlds?
Yeah, I was basically the bridge between like all cultures, just because like I'm a theater kid, you know. I go around, I talk to people. I mean, it was fine. It was okay.
Was there any tension between the groups at all that you, being the in-between mixed breed, could actually smooth out?
The one thing
They make it sound so you were the mixed breed. That's kind of...
I know for sure is that they didn't really like each other. The Koreans didn't really like the Hispanics. The Hispanics didn't like the Koreans because they were. There was like not.
But it wasn't
blunt.
intense, right?
Yeah, it wasn't blunt. They didn't go out and be like, "I hate you," you know. They were just like. Subtle out. We don't
So
talk to
how
them,
do
they don't
you
talk to
feel,
us.
because you're the mix and you're like, you're friends with everybody, but I feel like most of your friends are Asian, but it's like, you're kind of in between. So it's like, hey guys, like, why can't they just be cool?
Listen, I think it's the way I see it. It's like the Korean side or like the Asian side. They were more proper.
Yes.
Like they'd like to do things like the right way, but like the Hispanic side, they were more of like doing their own thing.
Right. Not having to follow the conventional path, right?
Yeah.
Of just like
No.
always just trying to become a STEM
doctor.
subject or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So what do you identify as? Do you identify clearly as Korean Mexican, or do you feel like a little bit more Asian, or you spend more time with your mom? So it's like, are you more Mexican now? Like, what do you think?
I would say for people who do ask me, I'm more Mexican just because I lived with my mom, which is the Mexican side. But I do have a lot of like Asian traits. Like I like to like when I want something, I try to focus up and like get that. Like I run for it. You know, I wouldn't wait.
All right, guys, everybody in the comments down below, please comment what you think Fred looks more like. Does he look more East Asian, okay, being Korean? Does he look more Mexican, typically Mexican, or does he look more Filipino?
Yeah, did you get Filipino a lot?
Do I get a lot of Filipino comments from like strangers? Like, are you Filipino? Like, but
His skin complexion is definitely Korean. He has a mix of both in his face of Korean and Hispanic.
budget version, yeah.
What do you think about the future of America or the future of the world? Do you think it is going to be like this mixed look that almost to me reminds me of like Brazilian or Puerto Rican, where it's like it's part white, it's part black, it's part Asian, it's part Latino,
I think
all
so.
in one thing?
To be honest, I thought it would be like a lot sooner. Like I thought this type of indigenous people would like come up a lot sooner than now. But like I think that's gonna like a lot of these people are gonna be coming up a lot like in the future, like far future, 100 years. Like everyone's gonna be mixed of everything. Like we don't know what's what.
No, for sure. I think that anybody who's like Asian and anybody who's Latin, whether it's the man or the woman, regardless, if they get together, they're probably more open-minded or more progressive member of their group.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Like,
would.
Yeah,
agree
I mean,
with
I
that.
think that when you have two open-minded people that are different, they're more likely to be together than the most like traditional thinking versions of the group, right? Yeah. Like if there's an Asian guy who only wants to be around other Asians and there's a Latina girl who only wants to be around other Latinas, unlikely that they get together. But if they're somehow mixing at work or school, or they get to know each other, or they're part of the same friend group or something, obviously that's gonna help.
All right, last but not least, Fred, what is a dish you could think of that hasn't been popularized yet that could be a good collabo?
I know you guys said this before, mole jjigae. I think that could be really good because mole is it's a spicy dish. You know, it's not spicy, but it's enough to be like a jjigae. You know?
That's true. It's like a hot stew that's like bubbling.
Exactly.
Right?
So we're talking about a mole stew with like noodles, with the instant noodles, with Spam, and like, does it have coach? look at Fred's Gen Z face. He's biting his lip. Oh my gosh, you are Latin, bro.
I would say for sure. I mean, there is some differences in culture, maybe some with the touchiness or openness towards like dating and stuff like that. But I will say this. I think one thing that that actually popped up in our hometown, Andrew, was Sinaloa sushi. I know that the Mexican sushi popped up, and that's been pretty cool to see. And,
you know what? Overall, guys, we're just going to wrap it up here. I think the Latin and Asian mix is really interesting, and I think it's cool because there's this balance. Like Latin culture is known to be very, very warm and extra loving, lots of PDA.
Yes.
Okay, we know Latin couples.
Yes.
Like everybody sees
I totally agree that yes, we are quite opposites in like the image of each other.
that loving Mexican couple somewhere, and they just
talking about the public makeout,
me, I'm
right?
more like they just love each other, right? But then that's so different than a lot of other Asian couples. So I think it's a good balance where it's like you take the warmth of the Latin side, and then you kind of take the, I guess,
coldness.
the cold, like I just gotta work hard and study side of the Asians. And then you mix it together. I don't know. So anyways, guys, you let us know in the comments down below. Are you mixed? Have you seen this mix? Have you dated a Latino? Have you dated an Asian? Or what do you think is the next mixture, guys? You let us know in the comments down below. Hopefully this video was helpful and fun. And until next time, we out.
Peace.